and I'm going to catch up with Mark and see what he's been doing to my Ferrari, or what he's been doing to my Vauxhall Velox, which I took out yesterday and the brakes stuck on. I definitely need to oil that gate. So we're back after the test drive, and there's everything on there that we need to see. Temperature's okay, just below the red there, it's a warm day. Don't suppose it will be that accurate anyway. Amps are okay, everything's okay. And we'll go to see what Mark's up to. Oh, he's obviously finished the Ferrari. I think we're having trouble with the oil cooler on there. There's the showroom. We had the little disaster at the weekend, and we'll catch up and see what he's doing on the Vauxhall. So the brakes are in really good condition, aren't they? The shoes, there's plenty of meat on them, I can see from here.
Yeah, they're mint. The cylinders, there's no rust or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
There's plenty of grease on there.
Where have I seen them cylinders before?
That blue 1939
Bedford
van.
Bedford van.
The same brake setup.
Yeah, so sort of like the old General Motors must be the...
But what's happened is one of the tags, the spring tags,
right,
that holds the adjuster,
right,
is cracked as well.
Well, I'm sure we've got a spare one of them cylinders.
I think we've got some bits and pieces. We'll have to have a look, see what we can find.
Yeah, well, it was funny what happened with that. I'll just flick this camera around. With that was, at the weekend I took it out for a test drive, and I called in at the local Costa, where I call in every day, and as I was pulling in the car park, this woman decided to reverse out and thought she had right of way, and I slammed the brakes on. She then got out of the car ranting and raving, telling us I was in the wrong, pulling in the car park while she was reversing out. So consequently the front brakes stuck on, and that's why Mark is pouring a kettle of hot water on. Why are you pouring the water on, Mark?
Expand the cylinder so I can get the piston out.
Right, expand the cylinder.
Have a look at it.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
See if there's any corrosion or anything in there that's caused the problem.
Yeah.
Or whether there's something else. I've cracked the bleed nipple off already. It's not locked hydraulically, as if the flexie's blocked or the master cylinder's not returning or something. Just want to see what it is, see if there's any corrosion or anything in there.
Right.
And give an indication if there's any others, because everything looks immaculate, and we did all the brakes on this a year ago.
Yeah.
Probably hasn't been far in that time.
Yeah.
It was only under emergency stop that it gave you a problem. Try to get to the bottom and see what's actually wrong.
Yeah. And what about the Ferrari? What's the crack with that? Do I order that?
Oil fans, cooler fan switch.
Yeah.
We need that.
I'll order that now then.
I put the old one back in so we can move it, but I've put it outside because it'll drip oil.
Yeah.
Because it put a bit of oil into the bed when I did it.
Right.
Can you press the brake for us, Andrew? Press it, I'll scream when you're in stop. One. Stop.
I've stopped.
Off.
Pedal stayed down.
Yeah, it has to be turned on the other side either.
So both cylinders.
So that's going to have to come off that. It's not like it's a minor stick, it's a pretty major stick, that.
Right. Yeah, I thought when I pulled away, I was pulling to the right, you could feel it sticking. Even pulling on the hill when I got back, it was, I'd pull up the hill and it was jammed, so I knew it was pretty bad. So, moral of the story is, I suppose, use them instead of have them just sit about, and this is one superb car. We've had a couple of inquiries on it, but to be fair, like most of the cars I've got, yes, I'd like to sell them, but am I really bothered? No, because this is, like I keep saying, if not the best Vauxhall Velox in the country. If there's one better than this, please send us a picture or details. I'd love to see it, not in a funny way, just I'd love to see it, but I can't say there being a better car in the country than this. It's fantastic. Multiple show winner, like I keep saying. Cups are all in the boat, and the only thing the matter with it is we don't use it enough.
I'm just going to take the bolt out the back of the cylinder.
Right.
And then once we get them out, I'll drop the cylinder off. The bolts are really, really close to the pipe, And the idea is you do it with the flexi pipe out, but I don't really want to take the flexi pipe out the other end. If I can avoid it, I'm going to touch the brake pipe, although it's in good condition.
The bolts should come out easy because the whole car's been rebuilt.
It's just that the one flat of them is almost against the brake pipe. There's
Right.
absolutely no clearance whatsoever to get in.
Right.
If I come undone with an open-ended spanner, it'll be alright.
A great view of the back of your head here. Well, see your neck.
Now I've got to take a whole back plate off to get the bolt out.
Right.
Casting for the suspension. There's not enough space to get the spanner in, I thought.
Are you going to get your tin of pop?
Yeah. The bolt won't come out for all of your kinking mechanism. So you're going to have to drop the back plate off to get it out.
So all this is caused by one silly person.
Well, it stood for a year, hasn't it? I mean, the brakes felt fine, it's just the pistons.
Well, she might have stood for a year as well.
Yeah.
She probably did. That's why she drove so bad. Yeah.
Finals, but I was in last position on the grid
Yeah.
and finished last in the race.
So Mark's talking about his electric car racing, which he does with his son Tyler. As you can see, he lives and breathes cars, or anything really, anything with an engine on it, Mark. Aeroplanes, I mean, you're probably flying an aeroplane at the weekend, were you?
Yeah, we're flying on Sunday.
Yeah, models, of course.
Yeah.
Well, aeroplanes, not just models. And he loves the little RC car club that he's in. He's in a couple of them. So his passion goes beyond work, goes into his free time. So I've missed a bit. You've took some bits off.
Yeah, put the flash out. Come apart dead easy. That's clean.
Yeah, you knew it would though, didn't you?
I suspected it wasn't going to be a problem. Let's say put a bit of hot water at the beginning just to help things come loose.
There's an undervalued piece of equipment, isn't it?
Vice.
The vice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Years ago, if you got yourself a bench with a vice on, you thought you'd made it, didn't you?
When you were a kid.
When you were a kid. I mean, I remember a couple of months ago, I must have chucked half a dozen of them in the skip. Factory clearance, yeah. Another underrated tool, the hammer. Got it?
Yeah, so shock the bolt with a hammer.
Oh, big cylinders, aren't they?
They are, and the bolt, well, normally I would always try to use a single hex socket on anything old, but it's that tight in there, you can only get an open-ended spanner in, which is a recipe for disaster, a good way to round stuff off. But it's a bit of shock there, and it's had a bit of warm water on it. It's come, but if it had been a rusty old manky one, you would.
What was behind the dust seals? Was anything there? Was it?
Well, they just tin covers on these,
Right,
and the adjuster's actually part of that.
right,
The little spring holds that down,
right.
and you turn this.
I'm sure they're similar to the bed.
Yeah,
The,
there might be a different bar size, but the design's exactly the same. I've seen it on a few.
I'm not sure whether, yeah, the J vans have them on as well. I'm thinking, I'm not sure. Say that many, you don't know, you can't remember everything.
I think that's all that's happened is we've got a bit of corrosion on the outside of the pistons there because they don't have a rubber seal on.
Yeah.
The moisture got on it.
Yeah.
Cause corrosion. What we don't want to do is scratch or chip or mushroom this over,
Right,
or scratch the inside of that bore.
right. So how will we get them out compressed air?
Yeah, I'm going to put the bleed nipple back in and try and blow it out with a bit of compressed air, get one side out. And it's just probably just be a flat cup, with a cup washer behind those.
Right.
So that find the bleed nipple, I took it out there to relieve any hydraulic pressure that was in there in case sometimes the flexi hoses collapse.
Right.
And it's not jammed there, it's actually hydraulically jammed, and if you take the bleed nipple out, you find that the pressure drops and then the problem goes away, and it's a flexi default, not a cylinder.
Again, the most useful piece of equipment we have is that vice in it.
It's used a lot.
That's what Mark's going to try and...
So vice is loose.
Yeah. So the pistons... You got one out?
Yeah.
So is that... It's just
So
It looks like light surface
just
rust, doesn't
very, very light surface.
So what will we do with that bit of wire wool?
Yeah, it's if you feel it, it's super light. It's aluminium, that.
Right.
So you got aluminium into steel, and the two just.
Well, you're going to get oxidisation, aren't you?
Yeah, but there's no fluid has passed the seal.
Yeah.
So I'll look in our stores department for some new seals.
Are they just like a little cup seal? Or?
Yeah, I'll get it out in a second. And what we'll do is we'll hone the cylinder with a honer and clean it up. So again, we don't want to sand these and make them small.
No, you just want to clean them.
We just literally take them
and
there.
you can see that wire wool there is just a bit of tarnishing in it, really.
Yeah,
a bit of gump on there.
When we put back together, what we'll do is we'll put some red rubber grease
Right.
on the rubbers and leave it this side of the bar so it sits between here and the steel bar, just to keep the.
So really, when that happened on Saturday, there was nothing I could have done. You know, on the roadside, there's nothing I could have done. You know, there's nothing you could get underneath and release. You know, I did try moving backwards as well as forwards. It did give a little bit of relief, but not much.
But it wasn't that badly stuck when I jacked it up, and
No.
the brake hasn't burnt and got red hot.
No.
You see, it's just pushed past its normal work and tolerance because you've pressed the brakes extra hard and just it's moved on to that last 0.5 millimetre that hasn't been used for a long time and caused it to stick. I say we used it last year and we used it at the show last year and it was spot on. It's just it has stood, but you can't be running around every year in a car that's only done 34,000 miles and keep it on 34,000 miles, can you?
That's the problem.
We do this to all the cars before they go out anyway, don't we?
Well,
So-
you know, yeah, we always test them and do the brakes when they come in and when they go out, to be fair. That's nothing to say, though, that, you know, you can test them one day and they fine, and then the next day they're not, because you're dealing with vehicles that are up to 120-year-old. So how can you guarantee 120-year-old?
You only need one of them to tear and it don't work anymore.
Yeah.
So they're 1.25 inches those. It's stamped on them.
It's difficult to carry, obviously, parts for all the old cars we have, but a lot of the parts were standardised, so a lot of the time you'll find that, you know, one wheel cylinder off one car fits another, or one rubber fits another. These tyres, Mark, are they genuine white walls, them, or are they like a cover?
No, I think proper ones.
Yeah.
There's no flap on them. They don't look painted.
They were flappy on them Cortina ones we had, weren't they? That Cortina Mark 1.
Yeah,
That,
the real deal, weren't they?
yeah, I thought they were like...
I'm going to get that piston out.
Right.
It's the one that's jamming.
Right.
So, lubricated it up. Socket on the inside against the back of the piston so we don't damage the rubber's out.
Right.
Let's come up there.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the aluminium's corroded where it sits against the steel.
See how simple it is to rebuild and recondition these things. Get yourself back on the road. Can you imagine the nightmare if you had problem with, I don't know, ABS rings?
It gets harder and more complicated to get. But you be very careful when you do these. You've got to make sure there's no scratches or pits inside the cylinder.
Yeah, or you're going to get a leak.
Put new rubbers in.
Yeah.
I mean, when you send away to professional
They must
companies,
get pressure tested.
They do pressure testing on them.
Yeah.
Let's see, what we'll do is bleed the brake system up, and we'll put a G-clamp on there and finish, and we'll press the brake really hard and make sure there's no leaks from it.
Yeah. Well, again, that's the thing, though. I mean, 70-year-old, it's... You're going to be struggling not to have faults, and that's the thing a lot of people don't realise when they buy these classic cars. They think, you know, it's, you know, I've spent £30,000 on this car. Yeah, but it's 80-year-old. And when you get to 80, bits and bobs drop off.
Yeah,
it's more
reconditioning. They're not as good as when they were new.
No.
The metal's old, you know.
Yeah, and it's more like, well, I would say it's more like a lifestyle as a hobby, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't want to lie underneath the car every weekend for the rest of your life, don't buy yourself a classic car.
Well, unless you can afford to just take it to someone to get it all done, but...
Yeah. But that's the thing here with Mark. I mean, I don't know, in the last video I showed you, he built that trim on the TD from scratch. 3 days, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah.
3
A
days.
little bit of time on the car, but
Yeah,
fitting up, you know.
yeah. So 1 minute here he's doing the trim, the next minute he's doing the brakes. It's all these skills are going to be lost shortly. We'll just go back to the throwaway society that everybody wants us to be in. I don't know why. Because it certainly can't be good for the environment.
I mean, a few years ago, when these were really popular, you could go to places like Wardy's or down at the motor factors somewhere like that, and you could just buy them off the shelf ready done, and they were relatively cheap. They weren't worth putting seals in, you know.
No, they weren't.
They were a tenner.
They were a
They
tenner,
just weren't worth the labour, but nowhere keeps them in stock these days. And now the specialists will be on an exchange basis. They'll want a good car back.
Well, I reckon one of those cylinders there would be at least reconditioned would be at least 80 quid, maybe it's 100.
Yeah, I've seen them with where they've bored them out and put a sleeve inside of them.
Yeah.
So the new metal, which is great. I've seen a couple done in brass, which maybe resists the corrosion a bit more.
Mm.
Well, if it wasn't brass, some sort of, you know,
Bronzy type.
yeah, some sort of amalgam of metals. Like a rough polish with fine wire wool. So we can take all the dirt and the rubber, the bits of corrosion off to see if there's any pits or worm.
I mean, could you put that in a lathe and turn it? You know.
I wouldn't be happy to make it any bigger. I think if there was any damage inside of there where it needed taken out larger, I'd want a new one. I'd want it sleeved.
Or slaving.
I mean, this is really. I'm not sanding it out. I'm just polishing anything off to make sure that the surface is really good inside.
Especially with a WD-40 on there, you're not going to cause much damage as well as lubricating it like
I mean,
that.
any doubt with brakes, it just wants new components.
Yeah.
But you need to clean it up to give it a visual inspection to see what it's like and whether it'll go again.
Yeah. And like I say, the difficulty with all this stuff is it's the parts availability. You just can't get the bits and bobs. So you have to use what you've got, sort of thing. Use the skills you've got, and instead of just throwing it in the bin and ordering a new part off eBay, you have to recondition the parts, don't you, Mark?
Yeah, and sometimes a good original one redone can be better than a cheap copy casting, or, you know, there is some poor bits and pieces out there. I've seen starter solenoids that don't work. And we've seen high torque starters that are wound up to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they're no better than, well, not as good as original ones.
Rubbish,
so,
yeah.
There's a lot of marketing and not a lot of quality in some products. Some are brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the dearer ones that are the best ones. It's hard to know. You tend to find that some of the smaller companies that are run by one-man band specialists, like the guy that did us the clutch for there,
but
are really, really good.
Yeah, he's an enthusiast as well, isn't he? I think that's half the battle. If you get somebody on board with you as a parts supplier who's an enthusiast, they will go that little bit extra. I mean, we've got a couple of motor factors around here. I'll mention the names. We've got Derek Ward, D Ward, and Steve Goodfellow at Dalton Motor Factors. Both have classic vehicles, and both have had classic vehicles all their life. So, you know, although the stock of what they carry is very limited for classic vehicles, again, with the knowledge they've got, they can sometimes cross-reference something to get you away, sort of thing. So sad, really, because once over, those guys would keep everything on the shelf. I don't know how much the chroming would cost on the front of this car, but I'm sitting here looking at it, and I bet it would be an awful lot of money.
You can't buy one and restore one as good as that and not spend more than a car.
Yeah.
It's got ridiculous.
I've just been saying on one of my videos, projects are too dear, aren't they? I think
if you want to take them to the standard of that car,
I think the doing away with the MOT, me personally, was a real bad thing. I'm not saying, you know, they shouldn't have an MOT, or they should probably have, because MOT inspectors now, they're all the guys who tested them are dying off, but there should be some sort of standard that car has to be brought to, whether it's put in an auction or retailed, because you've got the auction houses now just wanting retail money for cars and walk away from them. So I think there should be some sort of standard where you can take your car and you get it the equivalent of a classic car MOT, because, like I say, projects are just too expensive. People are wanting 5 and 6 grand for cars that are worth, what, Mark? £1,000.
Yeah, we've seen examples of MGBs where people want thousands of pounds for them, and you need that much work doing, and you can buy a good example for not a great deal more.
Yeah.
It just doesn't equate why you would buy one.
Yeah.
And welcome to Hardy Classics. And it's a bit late this morning. I think it's about, if you can see it there, 7:30. I'm normally in here at 6 o'clock, sometimes a lot earlier actually. But we're in here at 7:30 this morning. A bit of a later start this morning because we had a bit of a later night last night. Called out to one of the properties we look after. Some local lovely young fellas, obviously like breaking into places, which is good for business for us and bad for business for other people, I suppose. Anyway, I'm in the office this morning for the first 10 minutes and I'm on the computer and I want to show you what I'm doing. I'm on the Maranello website, and for those who don't know, Maranello does classic car parts for Italian cars, so not just Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati. And what we're looking for, well, I've got a part number here actually, is a temperature switch for the oil cooler on our Ferrari Mondale. We had a bit of a problem with overheating last year. It wasn't bubbling over or anything, although we did have a couple of hoses burst due to clip failure. Just type this number in while I'm talking. So what we thought was we're going to take all the temperature transmitters out of everything, oil and water, and test everything. And lo and behold, get this here, lo and behold, we found out that's the baby there. And look at the price, £33. Isn't that reasonable for a Ferrari part? Now seriously, on a real serious note, I was expecting that part to be, I don't know, 120 quid. I mean, although it's the same part that's probably used in a Fiat or something, a Fiat Mirror Ferrari or a Fiat 127 or something. I just thought, that'll be an expensive part, but at £33.11 and it's in stock. That's a bargain for a Ferrari owner, a proper bargain. What else has been happening? We did the little video on the brakes for the Velox yesterday. I'll be going back up to the garage this morning when Mark comes in. We'll have a cup of tea first, like we always do. Probably al fresco today, although it's a bit duller today, a bit rain.
So we're back in the workshop today, and what are you on with now, Mark? Still on with the brakes?
Yeah, we're going to rebuild that wheel cylinder. We've got some new rubbers.
Right.
We've got a cylinder that we cleaned out. It's pretty good. There's no scoring or anything in there. If you need any more than a heavy polish with a bit of wire wool or very fine wet and dry, then obviously you want to go away from.
Can we have a look inside that?
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a few black marks, but there's no grooves when you feel it or anything in there.
Right.
Should be fine. So left the seals to soak in brake fluid overnight.
Why is that?
Just to make sure they're nice and soft and supple.
And I noticed, have you painted that?
I just give it a light coat of paint, just the aerosol, just to smarten it up. Stop it rusting. So in there. A little bit of rubber grease on the piston where it's going to sit against the rubber, and hopefully this will help stop it corroding and reacting with the steel. So the rubber in there.
They're not the best dust covers on them though, are they?
They're just a tin dust cover, there's no rubber cover on them.
So
Squeeze that back slightly. Spring system in.
So basically it's just 2 rubber cups on a spring.
2 rubber cups on a spring, yeah.
Pushing the piston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 2 pistons. Is that right? 2 pistons in that one?
Yeah.
2
Piston
pistons in each end, and then they push out and push on the shoes. You can't really get anything more simpler, can you?
No. So, just got to check that, make sure they're not leaking occasionally, and that you're not sticking. And the aluminium against the steel is what's caused our problem there. Just there's a bit of moisture with standing. Got in and caused it to corrode. So
I notice you're building them shoes up, Mark, now. Off the back plate. Is that how you would do them shoes? Or
there's a spring on there that's particularly difficult to get into, so I'll get that in first.
Right.
Then we'll assemble them, put the wheel cylinder and everything on there.
Right.
And then lift the whole thing on. The bolts are particularly awkward on the back of the back plate where it goes through to hold the wheel cylinder on. When it turns the steering arm comes across and you can't get to the nut heads. And also they sit very flush to the cylinder casting itself. And they're awkward to get in and out, so to make sure we've got them tight and square, we'll build it like that and put it on and make a better job of it. So we'll give it a bit of paint, copper slip the high spots on there and the shaft where it pivots.
Right.
And then hopefully we won't get any squeaks on the brakes as the shoes rub on the back plates. And then what we'll do is we'll pump the brake up, bleed it, and check for leaks and pressurise the system and see what happens. Should be able to adjust them up. We just adjust them by turning these little turners, and then we'll have a look at the backs after that.
So obviously putting it back together is the opposite of taking them apart. So you've got the shoes back in there, you've got the cylinders in.
Yeah.
You're now, I guess, adjusting them through that little hole.
Yeah. So 2 adjusters, leading and trailing shoe. So we wind the outside and the thread from the middle end extends out over, which pushes the shoe out. So we push it till, turn it.
Just say bites.
So yeah, just want me feel it catching. And now it's catching there, so we know that shoe's pushed all the way out. So go back a couple of clicks and turn it all the way around, because you'll probably find that not everything's perfectly round. It just catches a little bit there and it's loose there, so we'll go back another click. Just a say, just feel it tapping there. So I'll go back one more. Yeah, it's pretty good there. Now after we've bled it, run it up the road and tried it, we'll check the adjustment again because the shoes will probably settle. That was the problem with these type of drum brakes. You were never off them. They would wear, and you would...
Do you have to centralise these shoes or not by pressing the brake before?
Yeah. What we'll do is when we bleed it up, we'll pump it out. But we've pushed the pistons all the way back, so the cups are all the way back. It's the piston itself, the cylinder itself doesn't slide, so it shouldn't make a massive difference. But I say we'll bleed the brakes, pump them up, and spin them again.
Is it unusual for that to have an adjuster? Obviously, on the likes of your minis and bits and bobs and stuff like that, they've got the adjusters on the back, haven't they?
Yeah, turn it.
And you use a little, I don't know what it is, quarter square spanner or something.
Yeah. Some of them do have a hole at the back to go through and adjust, so you can have the wheel on and spin the wheel without having to take the wheel off. But this one,
Yeah, I'm saying, do you think, is it unusual to have them at the front, pull the wheels off?
No, for 50s cars.
Right.
Seen a few.
Because it is harder to judge the braking on it, isn't it, really? Because if you can spin a wheel, you can feel it bite a bit, easier or harder than spinning a little hub.
The thing with when you spin the hub is you can feel the catch very easily. Where if you've got a wheel, you could easily miss it because you've got a lot more leverage on it. It's just to figure out how to jack it up and take the wheel off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Every time you want to check it.
So we've done this side and you'll be starting on the other side shortly.
Yeah.
So we're on the other side now, Mark. What's the...
Well, this side wasn't sticking, it's free.
Yeah. Them dust caps look a lot cleaner. I don't know.
There's no corrosion on it. You've just pressed the pedal there and it's returned. But we'll take it apart, we'll clean it, we'll put the new rubbers in this one as well.
Yeah.
Hone that out.
I mean, it is working. We will say the difference of a bad one to a good one, then, won't we? We should do anyway.
Yeah.
And obviously it's always easier once you've done it, once you've took it apart, because every car's different, yeah.
And you can actually take the hubcap off and adjust these brakes. Just there's a hole in the wheel which lines up with the drum, so you can get it in, but the hole's much smaller. But once you knew how to do them and you're used to doing them,
Yeah, so like back in the day, the Vauxhall dealer would have probably adjusted the brakes like that.
Yeah.
And told you he took them to bits and done them.
Well, you would need adjustment loads. For your everyday use, drum brakes, they were always going out of adjustment. I mean, minis were torture for it. Couldn't keep a good pedal on them. And you didn't appreciate that until you started driving cars with disc brakes and then realised how terrible they were.
Yeah. What were you saying about the Mini, Mark?
I think it was a 1959 car, and it still keeps up with modern traffic. Now it's 65 years on.
I know, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
it was a big step ahead in
and when you look at it, you know, I mean, everybody jokes about how many people you can get in a Mini. Is there any small cars as small as a Mini today? I don't know, like a Citroen, what, C1 or little Hyundai i10. Is there anything out there as good as I don't think there is?
Well, I think they were revolutionary. They definitely set the small car trend off and usable ones, certainly. I mean, you look at it compared to that bubble car.
Yeah.
It was a big leap forward.
I mean, I suppose Mark Bolan will tell you a different story if he was here, like, because he crashed his. But as for the safety factor, I don't think there was a lot of safety involved in them, like in today's standards. But you know, on the plus side, what a fantastic, well, invention, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of my favourite classics.
Yeah. I mean, and another one that if the British car industry could have gotten the corrosion issue right, what else went wrong with them?
Yeah,
It was only the body, wasn't it? It was only subframes, wasn't it? Really?
the engine was a relatively simple piece of equipment.
Well, how long did that engine go on for? I mean, that went into, what, Morris Itals in 1980? Right, you've got that one to pitch, Mark?
Yeah, so this one wasn't sticking when we tried it, but again, the corrosion on the
Put that a
aluminium,
bit closer, let's have a look.
the aluminium piston and,
Yeah.
and the steel bar, it's just the two reacting together. Just the moisture is just standing. I mean, it's been kept inside and everything.
Yeah.
It comes off just your fingernail. It'll come off.
Yeah, but it's going to stop that piston returning on a spring.
Yes, it's just going to make it rough going back. And say you've slammed the brakes on hard, it's pushed
Yeah.
out a little bit further, and it's just stuck on the ball on the other side. I mean, the brake wasn't binding heavily or anything, it was catching.
Yeah.
We'll just do this one, preventive medicine again, put a pair of new seals in it, wire wool that, wire wool these, bleed the brakes, bit of fresh fluid in it. And we'll paint the back plates and that while we're on again. Not that they're rotten, I mean, they're just dirty. So I put brake cleaner on them.
Yeah.
I'll give them a clean up and we'll give them a light dust of some silver paint on that side, dust of black on that side, so it's immaculate again.
Yeah.
We should be there.
So what we up to now then? Oh, that's the rebuild bit, is it?
Yep, back plate painted, cylinder built, shoes, original shoes, loads of meat left on them.
They're like brand new, them shoes, aren't
Yeah. All copper slipped up, ready just to put the pipe on and put the back plate back on the car.
they? Yeah. I mean, it's an easy job, but it's only an easy job if you know what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just take your time, and if there's anything you're not sure about, get some professional help on it.
Yeah.
You only do brakes wrong once.
That's right. Yeah, it's a big safety thing, isn't it, on old cars? People don't realise they buy these cars at the auctions, and they stupidly enough, I'm going to say stupid, you are stupid. If you buy a car at an auction and you drive it home, you're a buffoon, basically. I think you are.
Yeah, you don't know how long it's been.
No.
It's come from a disease,
No.
or someone's got sick.
No.
You know, there are some really
You're an idiot. I'm going to just say you're an idiot. If you buy a car at a car auction and you jump in it, you're an idiot. So if there's anybody watching this who subscribes to my channel and they're now going to dissubscribe to my channel because I've called them an idiot, well, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot, because you're not only endangering yourself, you're endangering your passengers or anybody else on the road. Old cars have got to be checked before you get in them. It's a fact, Mark. We've had them here, haven't we? We've had them where they've been in a museum 13,000 miles from new, and you've drove up the road, put your foot in the brakes and gone. Yeah, and in the same week, I had a conversation with a guy on that van, air car. If I come up, can I just drive it away? Where are you going with it? I'm going down to Devon. So imagine if he had bought it, he would have been in trouble. So we're back in the workshop. And I can hear a lot of knocking. What's happening, Mark? The back brakes seem to be off.
Back cylinder, sees the gear.
Right.
Aluminium piston swallowed inside of the cast iron.
As bad as the other one.
It's actually probably a bit worse.
Right.
The other ones came out with a bit of compressed air. These have been in boiling water and a bit of WD-40 down them, and they're still pretty stuck. Also noticed, when I took it off, both bolts are in, but the corner is cracked.
Right.
Off the cylinder. So realistically that's going to need a new cylinder, and that's a 5/16 Lockheed cylinder, that one.
Got any of them?
I don't think we have, but I would like it back together, so at least I can put it back on the car.
Well, let's have a look. I mean, we've got a lot of cylinders lying about, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
A hell of a lot.
Yeah.
I think that looks like a pretty familiar cylinder to me.
Yeah. The other thing that concerned me was, I don't know why you can see on the camera, if you look inside of the thread, the pitch on the thread looks quite flat,
Right.
as if the brake pipe hasn't been right at some point in its life.
Right.
It seems to wind in and out all right, and I've tried it, but it does look a little bit flat on the edge of the pitch, so
Right.
that's not so good either.
Right. Well, again, these cars, they're sold to people at auctions as, you know, the best car in the country, and it's at a 25, 35, 45, 55,000 pound restoration. And, you know, let's face it, you get into them and there's always a problem. He's just trying there. You can see he's trying to blow compressed air in the cylinder to blow the pistons out. You know, obviously very tight. Let's have a look and see if we've got one somewhere, Mark. We might have one of them in the container or upstairs. I don't know whether you put all the brake bits in the container or are some upstairs.
All the new bits we bought are, but there are some upstairs. I'll look upstairs first because there's less on the shelf upstairs.
Yeah.
And then we'll go through.
So we're on that corner now, Mark. What's happening? So you're making funny noises.
I know, bend it over. Pistons in the wheel cylinder are stuck in that one as well.
Right.
Again, corrosion between the aluminium and the...
Right, so the whole car, really, you know, this is probably, this test drive, I took it out the other day, has probably been a godsend when the woman tried to reverse into the side of us and I slammed the brakes on.
I said they operate normally if you push them out further back, but you've just pushed them out a little bit further and you've caught on the third degree. And only one brake was sticking, but you should be able to push the pistons out. You can't push them out by any of them.
So you're going to try and blow them ones out now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming out there. Just use the vice to don't shoot off like bullets.
Yeah, otherwise that'll hit me in the head and kill us.
Yeah.
And I won't get the beauty at the weekend.
So it's coming out there. I said the casting's damaged on one of them, so I think we're going to recommend a pair of new cylinders for the back. And they're a lot heavier corroded than the front ones were.
But again, we'll put them back together to get us away because, you know, we could potentially sell this vehicle tomorrow and obviously we might not be able to get hold of those wheel cylinders for a couple of weeks, so obviously we wouldn't let anybody take it with wheel cylinders like that. But what I'm trying to say is we don't want the vehicle disabled in our workshop because we only have one ramp. So we could potentially give somebody a test drive. It would be safe to do that once it's all back together, but I wouldn't like to retail it with those rear wheel cylinders. Well, just the one really, but we'll change them as a pair as a precaution. You've been on with this all day and yesterday, haven't you?
Yeah.
More or less. So,
Yeah. But you're working on a car that's scratch free.
Yeah.
Perfect paint underneath. You can't lift it on the ramp in case you damage the sill lips with the edge of the ramp. So you've got a jacket and axle stand it. Everything's been boiling water to get it loose.
Yeah, people don't understand it. That's the bit, like I'm trying, on my videos, I'm trying to promote things that people don't understand. You know, they don't understand that, you know, you buy a car from a car auction and it's not going to be perfect, or you buy a car from a car dealer. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but you'll probably stand a better chance than an auction, because it should have been when it inspected at our premises or anybody else's premises who's retailing cars. So I'm trying to promote a lot of that by these videos, especially the hidden pitfalls people come across, because you know, a lot of people are suckered into these cars, aren't they?
You get disappointed, and it spoils the ownership experience by having a bad experience at the beginning. And it's so easy to say after, just spend a little bit more and get a car that's had a lot done to it than trying to bring a bad one on.
Yeah, that's why I hate asking people for deposits. I don't do it actually. I have done in the past, and then I've sort of like thought myself, you know, if somebody leaves a deposit, yeah, it's sort of.
Well, if they're going to change their mind, let them change their mind.
That's the way I am.
It's the wrong decision if
Yeah, because if somebody's not sure and then they get the car and then they're still not sure, you're going to get a comeback. So, in my opinion, you know, I might be old school, but I'd rather shake somebody's hand and say, right, that's a deal. Come back and see us when you want it. Do you know what I mean? If anybody comes in between, I'll ring you and let you know, and then you can make the decision whether you want to leave something. I think that's the fairest way, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, again, it's old school, but like, it's fair.
Apart from the ones that come buy for it, pay for it, and forget to come back for them.
Yeah, that's true. And we've got one of those at the minute, who I need to get in contact with. So what are we on with now, Mark? Is this the last bit of the puzzle?
Velox wheel cylinders.
Are they the new ones or the old ones?
No, they're the old ones. They're working.
Yeah.
I cleaned them up the other day, but there's bad scoring in the cylinders, so they're only going to leak and cause another problem.
Yeah.
The exhaust mount was damaged on the other side as well. The rubber had split just with age, so I've repaired that. Tightened the manifold up at the front. It'd been rocking a little bit.
Have you done the other side or not?
No, the other side's stripped as well. I've just pulled the drums off.
Where's the new ones?
In the box on the bench up there.
Oh, they're the same. Looks similar.
Bolts at the bottom, pipe goes in there. There, got a copper washer on, like the Banjo Union though. Oh, it's got a tapered seat in as well, so it could be for both styles. We'll take it off and have a better look.
They look about right size, don't
Right
they?
length. Just looks a little bit chunkier in the casting, but it could be a recast.
Yeah, I don't think the original, are they?
No, not that they're new. So it could be slightly different. I'll get them off anyway.
Yeah, we'll get them up and get them on.
And they're ambidextrous, so shouldn't cause a problem.
Them stickers coming off, Tyler?
Yep.
Good lad.
Use all clean and away.
Right. Right, so that's the Velox back together. Job completed. Brakes done. Just look at it, it's lovely. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye bye now.